Time is of the essence when it comes to these pending UFAs, and I'm not sure it's on Craig Conroy's side.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess, and thank you so much for joining me here on today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We have somewhat of an non-update with the pending UFAs, mainly Chris Tanev and Nikita Zadorov. But I do feel like there's a sleeper trade happening based off just hockey, essentially. And we're going to talk about what the team has to say about Yegor Sharangovich and how he has made such an impact on the team. And of course, our 3 players to watch ahead of tomorrow night's game against the Dallas Stars. But before we do that, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. We're here for you 5 days a week, and there is no better place to hang out with some pretty opinionated people. Nick's back tomorrow. We're going to share whatever has come our way because a lot can change in the next 18 hours. But right now, it is time to keep an eye on the Toronto Maple Leafs and Nikita Zadorov because, well, it looks like Mark Giordano is out. There really isn't a timetable for his return either. And we know that Brad Treliving and the Leafs have been interested in at least Zadorov. I don't blame them. I think that Zadorov would add that element of toughness that they thought they were getting with Ryan Reeves. With Zadorov, you know that you're mess around and find out. He is there's a bark, or there's a bite to his bark. And I don't think that Toronto has had that in recent years. And I think that it would be great to see. I mean, I don't great for Toronto fans to see, I guess. But it feels like we are getting closer and closer to the Zadorov trade. Taylor Swift fan through and through, web sleuth, always on Reddit. I am not one to take posts on social media at face value. Nikita Zadorov posted a picture of him during warm-ups, stretching, or at least staring down the bench or something, with the caption, "Eye on the prize." My mind immediately went to his eye is on a contract extension and a trade to a contending team because the ultimate prize is what? The Stanley Cup. So again, that is based off of my own assumptions and jumping to conclusions. Make of that what you will, but it doesn't sound like Craig Conroy is doing anything because the Flames are winning. And this is where we knew and feared we would end up. If they're winning, they're not going to move anyone. And if they're winning, no one's going to want to be traded. You know what happens when all that happens when July 1st comes and no one's moved? You lose everyone. Just about everyone. And you let them walk for nothing. Have the Flames not learned that is the worst possible outcome? Chris Tanev quite literally blocked a puck with his face the other night. Stop and trade him. Because one wrong move, he's out for the season and you can't trade him and you lose him July 1st. If they are not going to trade him, great, fine. That's fine. I don't think the Flames I think that the Flames should keep him. I really like what he brings to the back end, and that's not something they can entirely replace, immediately. And, what is the low risk, high reward 1-year contract, 1 or 2 season contract for Chris Tanev? I feel like that's just do it. Just do it. But it looks like Vancouver is kicking tires on Zadorov, but the Flames don't want to move him or Tanev because, like I mentioned, they are winning. This is just not something that we want to see. This is what we wanted to avoid. That's why people were pushing for these trades to be made 6 months ago after the season ended. This is why people were saying, if the contract extension is not signed by now, you need to put your foot down and move this player. None of that has happened. Tyler Toffoli to New Jersey happened in June, which, I mean, yes, you are taking care of some business, but there's still a majority of baggage and people that need contracts or new homes. So it's time. It truly is time for Craig Conroy to get to work. I have a lot of respect for him, especially as a first-time general manager. He's trying to navigate things, but he has had 10 years to learn from Brad Treliving. And what does waiting around cost you? A lot. A lot. Because, there are teams that are going to be... There are going to be a lot of teams poking around at the deadline, and you are going to want to move fast. We're getting to the end of November here. We're going to be at the Christmas break and then the All-Star break, and then boom, you're at the trade deadline. We are a quarter of the way through the season, and none of these players have moved. Let's go. But coming up next, we are going to talk about one of the players, yes, really the only player that the Flames have traded for so far this season. And, I think that he's been a good fit, and that would be our wonderful, sweet, lethal shot, Yegor Sharangovich. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to talk to you about our friends at eBay Motors. You want your ride or die to be ready to go in any situation. Passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy, and it is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Right now, you can visit ebaymotors.com and keep your ride or die alive. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really do appreciate it. I think that it's been a while since I started hosting this show, and the gratitude, like I never take it for granted. And I'm so happy that there are so many kind and positive people within the Flames fandom and hockey Twitter, as well as these comments, because I see it with other shows, and it's just, I'm very happy that I have a good audience. But anyways, we are going to be talking about an article that the Flames put out about Yegor Sharangovich, and it's a good one. Clearly, the name Sharangovich doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity. In hockey's great book of original nicknames, you typically want something short, snappy, and the freedom to place a Y or an S at the end. Sharon, or just plain old Yegor always felt so boring. Sharky? Andrew Mangiapane? Laughed Andrew Mangiapane of his red hot line mate. I don't even know where that one came from. I think Mark Savard came up with that one day, and it just stuck with the boys. That is the best type of nickname because it comes out of the blue. No, like it's not forced. Like growing up, my legal name is Jessica. Jessie always felt so forced because I did not like being called Jessica. That's such like a grown-up name. But anyways, while the origins remain a bit cloudy, one thing is clear. The 25-year-old is attacking the game like a ravenous great white these days. Sharangovich had his best game as a Flame in Dallas, notching a beautiful goal off a pretty passing sequence from Mangiapane and top-line center Elias Lindholm, before adding a pair of helpers to collect his first 3-point game since April 12th, 2022, when he was a member of the team in New Jersey. The timing, of course, couldn't have been much better. That it came in such a pivotal win for this group and against one of the top teams in the NHL, we might add, says plenty about his ability to step up in big moments. But it also shows how he can bring others into the fight along with him. I was skeptical of Sharangovich when they traded for him. Everyone was. I listened to the episode Nick did back when that happened, and it was just kind of like well, this is going to be hard to make up for Toffoli. Like it felt kind of lopsided. And I was nervous when I saw him playing on the top line during preseason. And I did see him get bounced around a little bit and then immediately plummeted to fourth line center. Don't know if that was like super effective, but he eventually like found his speed. He found his game, and he was rewarded with time on the power play and was taken off the power play, and then he's back on the top line now. And it's great to see. I think it's been really effective, and he's been very impactful for the Flames. When you look at that line, that was Sharangovich's most competitive game in a long time, said Ryan Huska, adding that the aggression he speaks of helped take some of the heavy lifting off of Lindholm's plate. I mean, yes, I do think that Elias Lindholm does have like big expectations. I mean, as a first line center should. They are reasonable expectations, but it's always great when a teammate is there to kind of help bail you out and you're not going at 100% all the time. You can kind of catch your breath, right? I think for Sharon, when he is strong on pucks, he has a really good skill set where he can make plays, whether it's in motion or standing still. He understands the offensive side of the game. The challenge is to get him consistently strong on pucks. If there's you and me going after a puck, you need him more often than not to say, that's mine, and I'm going to come out from that battle with it. So when he's on in that regard, you see nights like you saw in Dallas. Sharangovich now has goals in back-to-back games and 3 in his last 4 to give him 5 points overall in that span. It's the same number he put up in his first 16 games last season when he was primarily deployed in a fourth line role, but the occasional bump thanks to his penalty killing assignments. I really do appreciate that he has taken on a larger role. I think that was kind of a cause for concern too, because last year was a down year for him. I mean, welcome to the club, but for him to go from a fourth line role and, killing penalties to really kind of flip-flopping around in the lineup to primarily being on the first line, I think that's a huge step in the right direction. And we talked about it on Tuesday's show a lot about how like that age 25, 24, 25, you can still get something out of them. You can still kind of not blossom, but push them. You'll see some extra pop, I guess, to that full potential. He has room to grow still. But let's see. He brings a lot of speed. He's got a great shot and has great hands, and he's going to be able to make the type of plays that we saw in Dallas because of it. Mangiapane said, those little support plays and things like that, he's so good at it. I feel that was missing earlier. That was missing earlier for us this season, and we're starting to figure out how to play with each other and build on that chemistry. Huge. I mean, I think that it's pretty fair that the Flames were missing quite a few elements to their game to start the season. And really, I would say, going back to July 2022, but it's nice to see them kind of get this chemistry going, to have something established, to build off of something positive rather than try to claw your way out of bad hockey. You have a skilled player here. That top line is very skilled. All three forwards are pretty, they have a strong 200-foot game. So that also takes a lot off of each other. You're able to play well, and you can bounce responsibilities off of each other. And to have a guy who is so aggressive and will go down the corners and get the puck is fantastic, because the Flames, I call them the golden retrievers, because it's just dump and chase. You're just playing and fetch. But if you need someone to actually get in there, Yegor will do that. And it's great. It's nice to see effort like that consistently from a top line player. He's been a good fit, said Lindholm. He's skilled, plays with a lot of pace, and has a nice shot. If he plays the way he did yesterday, that was game against Dallas, every night for us, we're going to have a lot of success. The one knock is that the Flames have been a tad unlucky with on-ice save percentage of only 75% of the time within a 32-minute time frame. The Flames, they're doing the best they can. They're trying, okay? We complement each other well, Mangiapane said. They're two smart hockey players. Hopefully we can continue to grow and keep building on our chemistry, keep that communication level high and growing as a line together, and hopefully that will translate into another good game. I'm talking about Lindholm and Sharangovich. Big fan of what we're seeing from that top line. I want to see more of it, not just from them, but from everyone. It takes 4 lines to win a hockey game. Not really. But, you want to see scoring from all of your lines. I think that the Flames middle six just need to kind of start building some offense and bringing that to the table. But again, Sharangovich kind of been another bright spot, and he's exceeding my expectations so far. I know it's only a month or so into the season, quarter of the way through for some teams, but it's great to see. Coming up next, we're going to wrap up the show with players to watch in tomorrow night's matchup against the Dallas Stars. But before we do that, I do want to take a quick break here and talk to you about the sponsor of today's episode, and that would be our friends at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, whether it be music, theater, comedy, sporting events, whatever it is. Game Time makes it fast and easy to buy tickets for every event. With killer last-minute deals and all-in prices, views from your seats, and best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, there are so many options for you to go have fun. Go to a concert that you never, you wouldn't typically go to. Go, you're in a different city for traveling for work. Go catch a hockey game. Go catch a football game. It's the lowest price guaranteed, and there is event cancellation protection, and it's a great benefit, truly. But Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. One of my favorite parts of hosting this show and consuming a concerning amount of media in a day is being able to bring things to the table in different perspectives. I think that coming at this project 4 years ago, it was like, okay, I want to remain objective. I want to bring a critical thinking aspect to this rather than just, okay, this player played like trash. This was their plus minus, and that's that. Growing up in Boston, the sports media was just heinous, like truly soul-sucking to listen to. And I never want to do that. I want to be a bright part of your day. 30 minutes just to enjoy the show. And I figured, what better way to do that and end the show with a 3 players to watch segment, because it's fun. You can kind of look for something in the game tomorrow night and you have something else to watch for, because this is going to be a good game. This is the second time these two teams have met within the last 6 days. And this rivalry that's kind of building between the Stars and the Flames it's been so fun to watch. That game last week was exhilarating. That was one of the that's one of the best times I've had watching a Flames hockey game in quite some time. And that the Stars are going to come out hungry just based on the way that they lost, right? Looks like Markstrom is making his return after battling the flu, and he said that he's catching up on his fluids. He's feeling better. It was great to see him in media availability earlier today, Wednesday, talking about, giving Vladar credit where credit is due and just how it feels good to be back out on the ice, and he's feeling better, which to me, that's good. That's trending in the right direction here. But I would say he is, again, one of the players to watch. You're always going to want to watch Jacob Markstrom, because when you're watching him, you're also watching the defenders in front of him. Now, we have seen Zadorov and Anderson kind of out of position several times recently, and it's been a little costly. And I think that, when you're watching for those specific things, you can kind of pick up on it and be like, okay, then when you see a change, it's like, okay, this is different, and they're taking steps to avoid those mistakes. And hopefully Markstrom does not allow 4 goals like he did last time. And I mean, he's been on his game. It's the goals that go in. Yes, there are some soft ones. It's going to happen regardless, especially when you're facing 40 shots a night. But if the defense didn't look like Swiss cheese sometimes, maybe Markstrom wouldn't have to work as hard. And he's played very well. His save percentage doesn't reflect that, but he is in the good area for goal saved above expected, and that's all we want right now. That is all we want. I have AJ Greer as well, and you're probably wondering, Jess, why are we watching for a 4th liner? because he's not Dylan Dubé, and I mean that respectfully. I think that Dubé has just been ineffective. I think that he's hit his ceiling in Calgary, and that's a whole different episode that we can unpack at some point. But I really like what we've seen from AJ Greer. He didn't really have the opportunity to find himself in Boston and to cement himself as like a role, as he was this kind of player. He was in and out of the lineup through the playoffs, and he did score. I will say he found the back of the net a few times during the postseason in 7 games. So I will say that's, glad he can bring that to the table as well. But Ryan Huska had this to say earlier today. He plays the hard game. I think that's maybe the best way to put it for me. His details are very good defensively. You think of people that block shots on our team and from our forward group, it's AJ and Blake Coleman. He understands who he is. So he's a very straight line player who goes to the net hard. He knows what he has to bring to the game. And I think a lot of that comes from where he came from. We've talked about it before. We've talked before about the organizations that he's come from, where he understands in order for him to stay in the lineup. How do I play the game? He's come here and he's done a really good job of that. For me, he drives that line, and when he's doing it the right way, he's a guy that we can bump up as well. Though that's high praise. I think whenever you are a player that's kind of been bounced around from like a few organizations, and you don't really have the opportunity to consistently be in a lineup and to figure out how to make an impact and to catch the coach's eye and to be a difference maker, it's so much harder to stay in the organization or stay in the lineup long enough to be part of the organization and for them to appreciate you. But my third player to watch is Connor Zary, simply because, again, he was benched for Dylan Dubé in the game against Vegas. Have no idea why. I do not know what Dubé has on the Calgary Flames organization, but I'm going to start asking questions because, again, he's hit his ceiling, maxed out. We've done this for 300 games. It's time to move on. I've been saying it since 2020. They needed to trade him for a guy that can shoot the puck. And I've been saying Jake DeBrusk requested a trade 2 years ago. Should have traded for him then. But I think that Zary is going to come out hungrier than he has in the past because he wants to prove that I'm better than Dylan Dubé, and you're going to notice that and see me. So I'm on the ice in the third period, in overtime, and whenever these situations, because I'm an effective player. And that's that. I mean, I really like what we've seen from Zary and Pospisil. They're eventually going to hit the rookie wall. It happens. Nothing to be overly concerned about, but so far, smooth sailing. And that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. This has been such a treat. Make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. Leave a nice little comment. Make sure you're subscribed. A 5-star rating, a nice little review as well on iTunes would be super neat. But Nick and I will be here tomorrow to talk all about maybe a trade, since looks like Gio's going to be out for a little bit. So until then, stay safe, stay warm, and remember to put on chapstick.